Greetings. This is I Am Vermont Too, and my name is Sha'an Mouliert. I Am Vermont Too is modeled after the I Too Am Harvard initiative. The I Am Vermont Too photo story project shines a light on the diversity of identities and experiences of people of color all across the state of Vermont. The I Am Vermont Too project is a medium for people of color to tell our stories and convey how racism has a significant impact in our lives. This is the first known statewide multi-generation project done only by people of color living, working, and going to school in the state. It is also a vehicle to outreach for the People of Color Caucus. Social justice activist Grace Lee Boggs said, "Creativity is the key to human liberation." A poem. Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me down with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds meeting at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Today, my guest is Aureon Nommik. I have a personal pleasure and delight as I have known Aureon since he's 4 years old. And I welcome you here. Thank you for being a guest. And before you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, can you share what it was like when I asked you to be on the program?
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you. At first I was a little nervous as to what it all was. I mean, what is this program? What is it? What is it about? And then when we started talking more, I said, "Oh, this is actually pretty cool. This is a pretty good cause, a pretty good information for people." Because I think that a lot of racism is swept under the rug, and it is become acceptable because we don't recognize what little things could be racist. Little comments or sayings or little shrugs or faces can be signs of racism. I don't think people really identify that this is a problem, that this is an issue that a lot of people don't recognize.
Thank you. And I feel blessed and grateful that I have this platform to be able to inform our community members as well as to connect with each other. So, as I said, I know you for a little while, and it's amazing and awesome to see you coming into your own. But can you share with our viewers a bit about yourself, where you grew up, something about your family, things like that?
Absolutely. I was born in Albany, Georgia. I was adopted when I was a month old, and moved to Alaska with my mother. We lived out there for about a year, and then we moved to Vermont, up to the Newport area. I grew up there and was homeschooled with my brother, who's from Mali, West Africa, and my sister, who's from Lima, Peru. Lived there, was homeschooled until high school, and then went to high school for a little while. In that time, I decided to drop out and went to New England Culinary Institute, and graduated there, and worked all over the place, and just opened a restaurant here in St. Johnsbury.
And the name of the restaurant is?
Salt Bistro.
Wonderful. So you mentioned being homeschooled as well as, your time at, was it North Country?
Yes, it was North
Union
Country.
High School. And I knew you and your family around that time. And one of the things that, issues that had come about, especially for kids of color, was they were being homeschooled because the schools weren't a safe space for them. And how do they connect with each other if everyone's like in their own home? So hence the African American Alliance of the Northeast Kingdom, which your mother was a part of, and we were able to get association and have play groups with others. Your passion. Would you like to talk about your interests and passions?
Yes, I'm obviously passionate about cooking. I'm passionate about food. I'm passionate about helping people, less fortunate people. I teach a cooking class for low-budget family homes to learn how to take food stamps or whatever money they have, instead of buying a boxed dinner that can feed one person one time, how to make a meal. Because they have all the ingredients, but they don't know what to do with them. So that's a passion of mine.
And something that is so needed at, was at one point working at the food shelf. And we would get these 50-pound bags of potatoes. So almost anybody who walked through the door of NECA at the time, we would say, would you like some potatoes? And I remember a young woman did not know what to do with the potato. She knew what to do with a box of instant mashed potatoes, but a raw potato, which has one of the most potentials as far as ways to cook and present it, and the recognition of how food is tied into health, tied into well-being. Food has been a community gatherer for eons. And so being able to and I'm looking at eons as, I don't know, 1,000 years or so, but in being able to bring people together around that. So I thank you, and your restaurant being a part of it. So if you were to, has racism or microaggressions had an impact on your life? And if so, how?
Well, I guess growing up, I always just learned that racism towards me or a family member, brother or sister, that if we made a joke out of it, it did not empower what they were saying, and it would deflect it. So growing up, if there was a comment or anything, we would make a joke out of it. We would just totally take the power right out of it. And then people were kind of confused, but I don't know if that was the right thing to do, because then people thought it was okay and that it was a joke. But as younger people without that information or knowledge, I would say, of what it really is racist or demeaning, is, and we grow up in this society where it's just turned into a joke or turned a blind eye to and not recognized, that it actually empowers people more to do these things, and they think it's okay. Can you repeat the question again?
Well,
Sorry.
and I think you answered it really well, in as one of the ways it's impacted you was to use humor,
Yeah.
and you also brought up a salient point, and it's something. I use humor because, first of all, it makes me feel good.
Right.
I'm able to recast, reframe a situation, and try to see the irony, maybe, of it. I also appreciate that you pointed out what your intention was and the impact. So the impact on white folks, oh, this is funny. The impact that you just mentioned on you, am I creating a situation where they're thinking it's okay and that it's funny? The various skills, tactics that we developed and continue developing in order to, and I say, navigate our world. So we have intentions, kind of looking at what that impact is. So talking about microaggression, do you want to share, and I particularly like, and you don't have to do that one, but the one that you have on shared on the whiteboard. Would you like to share what it was or is, and when it happens, how it makes you feel?
Absolutely. So a lot of people, they will jokingly say, "You're the whitest black person I've ever met." I'm thinking to myself, no, I'm the most educated black person you've ever met. I'm not the stereotypical drug dealer, gangster, that people portray, in movies, on the news, everywhere. And, to have and run a business, completely legally, driving a Cadillac automatically portrays this image of, drug dealer, or, oh, he just wants to be black. Does that make sense? I can give you another example, and this was at this was actually at a store, and I didn't actually realize that it was racism until my mother brought it up to me. So before I had a Mercedes-Benz, and I had purchased some tires from this place, and the tires were bald. They went bald really quickly. It must have been a manufacturing issue. So I brought it back and said, these tires, you just put them on, they're bald, let's replace them. They told me they weren't going to do it, even though the warranty on the wall clearly says that there's X amount of miles and we hadn't hit that many miles. So I came back because I bought 2 new tires for the back, and the ones on the front were the ones that were bald there. So they, accused me of, burning out and, blah, 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 and going to the racetrack with these things and whatever. So I explained to him, it's a rear-wheel drive vehicle. The front ones are on the front. They're for steering, So they told me it was impossible and everything else like that to come back and speak to the manager. So I did. And I said, oh, well, let's advise you that, you can't drive the vehicle because they're unsafe. I said, obviously, yeah, they're unsafe. So, these guys, want me to sign this thing so that they're not liable. And I said, no, I'm not signing anything because, if something happens, then, it's on me. So I left my vehicle there. I called my mother. She came down and picked me up. And I used her car for a couple days while in contact. So 3 days goes by, and I'm talking to the store manager, the parts manager, everything. They're telling me they're not going to replace these parts, the tires. So I call my mom, and I said, Mom, this is ridiculous, So she said, I'll go down there. But before she went down there, she called the manager and explained who she was. My name is Judy, my son, he's black, and he's brought, well, the car was technically hers, but I drive the car, And she said, this is my car, and what's the deal? And they told her, oh, you can come down in 15 minutes, we'll put the tires on, and we'll be, everything's all set, So she called me, she said, oh, I didn't have a problem with them at all. And I said, huh. And we got to thinking about it, and it's like, why is a young black male coming in with a Mercedes-Benz doing something wrong when a 75-year-old lady comes in and suddenly it's okay? She obviously hadn't brought it to the racetrack, So that was more in my face, like, no, we're not going to help you. No, we're not going to work with you. No matter what you say, it doesn't matter. We're not going to help you out. Which was, that was probably the most recent thing that's happened in the last 6 months.
So, couple of things in your feeling around one, your experience with them, and then your experience having your mother, based on her positionality in society, being able to be successful. How did that make you feel?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you are trying to get something done,
right,
and you are not able to. You
right,
explained that well. And then That's one thing. And then having your mother, whom, as you're a grown man and wanting to have, being able to navigate your own life,
Right.
that having her intervene was made it successful. So, did you have any feelings around that?
Oh yes, more frustration than anything. You know, my vehicle is a key part of running a business. I can't go to the grocery store to pick up potatoes if I ran out, or I'm relying on other people to help me when I'm perfectly capable of doing it myself. Except for getting my tires changed, apparently.
Can absolutely understand your frustration, and it's for me then the layers of microaggressions that have on that. So in that instance, what did you need?
I needed respect. I needed transportation. I mean, I guess I needed. It's a good question, because I guess everything kind of just blocked out, and started thinking negative thoughts. You know, just putting that negative energy out, and trying to explain, defend myself is what it was, So I guess, yeah, I guess respect would be the right word, I think that pretty much covers that. I mean, I'm sure there's other things that I felt. I mean, I felt anger. I felt sadness, frustration. Yeah, I think that's that basically covers
It's adequate.
it. Yeah.
So that brings to the question, what barriers, if any, have you put up because of microaggressions?
Wow. I mean, obviously I don't go to that store anymore. And I guess I've just had more of a sense of an awareness of, what these people are, what people say, or what little things they do. And not to say that everybody who ever does anything wrong is, being aggressive. I think just a lot of people are not educated. It brought me back when we met the other day when you said people who say, I don't see color. And that got me thinking, and, I hear a lot of people say that, and it's, it's like, what, and I'm glad you brought that up to me, because I was like, that doesn't make sense, and the term African American, I'm American. I was born here, I was raised here, I was not, so in some instances, I think that could be a, not racist, but just, you're not quite American, because I was born here, I was raised here, I've lived here. So even the terms or how we identify ourselves, I identify as black. I'm Black American. That's how I identify. My brother, however, who is from Africa, he's from Mali, West Africa, is African American. My sister, who is also black, she is Latina American, So it's just those things that we even, it's almost like it's better than being called anything else. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand perfectly.
Yeah.
And to gain and hold the privilege of self-identifying.
Right.
That every time I have to fill out a box
Right.
and check things off, and you say, well, I might want to identify with this, but I have been influenced by this.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
remember someone who had thought in a position that it would show that St. Johnsbury, I was going to be in a job position, and that people coming in could see that St. Johnsbury was welcome to people of my, and she had a hard time even coming up with the word, and she said, my culture. And I'm thinking, my culture is American. You know? I mean, that is what my culture. So even in your looking at what you're welcoming me, you're misidentifying
Right.
who I am. So what would you propose to our community that would make your life one where you're visible, where your experiences are validated, and your contribution to the community is valued?
That's interesting. I guess, being just a person, you know, I'm trying to explain what I'm trying to say. Just being seen as Aureon Nommik. That's it. I don't need any special privilege. I don't need less of any privilege. Just human to human. That's it. You know, I think that is the first step to making a full-hearted community. That's what I think.
Yes. To see your color.
Right.
That to be able to hold the space that you're human and all that it entails. That there doesn't need to be an apology.
Right.
You know? It's sort of, if a man says to me, I don't see gender. And it's, well, by you saying that, number one, you've already set the standard that male, if you don't see my color, not only are you not seeing me, you're not seeing my ancestors, you're not seeing my experiences that I brought to the table, looking at it in an enriching way, and how to celebrate that. You know, so we can be welcoming, how to be safe, how that I can feel welcome, safe, and thrive. I have grandchildren, which, you know, when I moved to Vermont, I wasn't thinking about, and providing an environment that's conducive to their well-being. Any last words you'd like to share with our viewers?
I'm just glad to be here, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, I thank you so much. My heart sings for being a guest on my program and for sharing your experiences, as well as your contribution to St. Johnsbury and participating in the culinary delights that we are now thriving and gaining. And I'd like to thank my viewers for watching, and please like us on Facebook.